Welcome to Talent X,
the Talent Experience podcast featuring authentic conversations on the future of work,
empowering you to better understand and deliver a best-in-class, future-proofed career experience.
For more insightful conversations, visit talentxpodcast.com.
We hope you enjoy this episode of the Talent X podcast.
Hello, this is Rhonda Taylor from Talent X. We're the podcast that talks about the talent experience. And today we have a most interesting individual with us. We have Madeline Laurano. Madeline is the owner of Aptitude Research. That's been going on for the past 6 years. And before then, she was no stranger to the analyst space. I'm not going to say the number of years, Madeline. We'll just say she did a stint with Brandon Hall as the VP. She did a stint with the Aberdeen Group and with Burson Associates. Madeline specializes in the talent acquisition and engagement research. Her research focus, and this is what we're going to talk about today, is on how technology can help to improve efficiencies and overall user experience. She holds a degree from Boston U. So please give a warm Talent X welcome to Madeline Laurano from Aptitude Research. Madeline, is there anything I didn't cover?
No, that was such a nice introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talking with you about all things related to talent and technology, my two favorite topics.
Well, and you know what, we're in the human space, so I am going to share that you have two sons who, oh my gosh, you must have a busy household, and I bet you're getting really proficient in homeschooling.
I know they've, fortunately went back last week, full time, 5 days, which is wonderful to have them back. But I am not meant to be a teacher. I know that now. So I am now, I know my skill set, and it does not involve teaching.
Yeah. So we talked about your recent research on ATS and Talent Acquisition. You did a big report. I heard it's 200 pages. Before we dive into it in more detail, I would like for you to share with the audience how you came to do this report and your high-level findings.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about this report. I'm really excited it's published. It was a big undertaking. We started it last year. And I'll start by saying it's not the first ATS in-depth report I've done. At Aptitude, this is the third time I've kind of gone down this path, but I've done this at other firms too, where we really take a look at the industry, the market trends, what's driving buying decisions today, and then provide a really in-depth look at certain providers that meet a criteria for inclusion. And that criteria is based on their revenue, based on the number of customers, based on what we think they're bringing to market, if this is a player worth looking at. And it was interesting this year. So we had 13 providers in the report, and we had to spend a lot of time on demos, a lot of time in briefings, a lot of time with customer interviews, and then put all these profiles together. And, the main thing I'll say is the overall theme is really that the ATS is not enough. The ATS as a way to track candidates, as a workflow itself is not enough. Companies need more. They need something before to engage with candidates, even before they apply. And they need a way to engage with talent when they become onboarded. I know that's certainly something, Rhonda, we've talked a lot about, is onboarding and how important that is in both the talent acquisition and then in the HR employee experience.
Yeah, and you brought up a really interesting factor that, that we actually have a client that from time to time asks us, we not only want to know what the skill developments that's going on with our own employees, but we would like to know the transitions that the people who have applied for us that we have in our database. And that's like, wow, do ATSs track that, or who's going to track that? Because that becomes very cumbersome.
It does. And it's a lot of data. And I think that's where companies really struggle, is that there's all this candidate data in the ATS, and they don't always know how to get access to that. So matching's been a big theme this year in the research report we did. It's companies want to think about using AI to match candidates to these jobs and these job descriptions. And the ATS providers are trying to build more capabilities there. So it's this huge system. It's a huge investment for companies. Every large company has an ATS, but it's really figuring out how companies can use them correctly, and then also who the best partner is for these companies. And it's really not, it used to be a very commoditized apples to apples market, and it really isn't. All of these providers are doing really interesting things, but they're all moving in very different directions.
Exactly. Well, and especially in COVID, because everybody hunkered down in the past year and went into developmental mode.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see. That's part of the reason why I'm looking forward to HR Tech, to see the transitions that have occurred with some of the vendors.
Exactly. And that's been a big theme in the report too. It's this move to internal mobility. It's not necessarily a new trend, I'll say, within talent acquisition. I think when companies feel like hiring is going to slow down or change or stop, they start to think about internal mobility. And that's been a big theme this year for a lot of organizations. And the ATS providers and the talent acquisition providers are responding in a major way to say, how can we help companies think about development, think about providing opportunities to the employees, not just to external candidates. So there are some real differentiators with how providers are thinking about internal mobility. Some providers just basically offer something as simple as just posting jobs internally before you post externally, while others are thinking more strategically, like how can we do things like succession planning, the career development, and kind of bring it to that second layer.
Exactly. And okay, so like let's go at the on the others. Let's flip it and let's talk about the HR professional, because you've got the ATS, you've got that the ATS is now addressing talent mobility. Who owns it? Talent acquisition, or who else could own it?
Or who else? Or is it owned by HR, or is it owned by individual, business units and how they manage that? And that to me it's one of the big challenges. And it's a similar challenge with onboarding too. Is this owned by talent acquisition, which is usually where it starts, but who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for that employee experience? And I don't think there's necessarily like a one size fits all, like this is who it has to be. I think it's figuring out for each organization, who's going to be your champion for this, and make sure that we have a really strategic and thoughtful approach to internal mobility. I think before companies even look at technology for this, they have to look internally and say, what are we currently doing? What do we want to do? Who's owning this is, I think, a great and appropriate question. Are we doing things differently for executives versus entry level versus management positions? And kind of figure out what that process is, and then start to look at, who are the providers? Are we looking at talent acquisition? Are we looking at employee experience? Are we looking at some combination?
Yeah, but going back to the research, were there any big surprises when you started taking a look at all the data?
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises. I mean, I think the first thing that came out is that, like what I said earlier, like the providers are all moving in very different directions. Some are looking at employee experience, some are looking at talent management, some are sticking with TA very heavily. So that was really interesting to see where everybody's roadmap is going. Another thing that really stood out, and I think it's probably a little bit unique in how we cover these providers in the report, is we really looked at diversity, equity, and inclusion. And obviously, this is a big topic in our world today. It's a huge topic in talent acquisition, and it needs to be a bigger topic than it is today. But we really looked at, okay, what are these providers doing? They're all talking about it. They use it in their marketing messages, left and right constantly. But when you look at it, we don't want to just see product capabilities to have AI matching. We want to look beyond that. We really wanted to see, what are they doing for their company culture at the providers? Are they making changes to their diversity of their leadership teams? Do they, have a strategic approach as a company to address diversity, equity, and inclusion at their own organization? And then do they offer services too? If companies are trying to think about improving diversity and starting with talent acquisition, what type of support are they going to get from these providers? So we looked at it in terms of leadership, services, and technology last. I think every provider has some kind of technology that reduces bias or, uses AI in some way, not always ethical AI, but, they're kind of messaging that. But there were a lot of differentiators with the leadership and the diversity and the culture of these providers. And not all of them were, and if I can be bold enough to say this, we're taking it as seriously as I think we would have liked to have seen. There was only one woman CEO out of the 13 providers in the report. And I think there was some more, diversity than in past years on the leadership team, but I think we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, and that is such a problem with HR technology, and it's glad that I'm so happy at HR Tech. They actually draw attention to women in technology because we want to see that more and more. And we're, I'm fortunate enough to work with a company that's women owned, and that brings a lot of culture right down through the ranks in regards to culture and diversity and inclusion. But this year we're seeing a lot of, probably the vendors dealing in diversity and inclusions have been the busiest.
Absolutely. And there's, organizations want to do better. And I think they want to look at technology providers that can help support them. But it's really being very careful about looking at providers that truly take it seriously and offer solutions and a vision and a strategic approach to it versus those that are just using it as a marketing message to be able to get customers. And I think there's a real difference there. And companies that, really want to find those partners are going to have to dig deep and see what these providers are doing.
Yeah. And it's going to, especially now, it's so hard to calculate who's walking the talk versus who's just talking it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to switch a little bit here because there's another item on your agenda that, of course, just fascinates me. And it's a topic very close to my heart. And that's you're undertaking a survey on mentorship. Care to speak about that?
Absolutely. So we do an employee experience survey every year. And this year, I wanted to think about mentorship. It's not a topic we've really explored in our research and data collection before. And I wanted to see what companies were doing and the approach. And it's been very interesting. I think not as much of an investment is being made in mentorship as it should. I think companies tend to do it either as a very ad hoc approach or, they don't think about, we've talked about just like the mentee perspective versus just the mentor perspective. Like we asked, how are mentors and mentees even assigned to each other? Like, does that happen just in onboarding as a one-time box, or is that something that's happening, very strategically in a very strategic way to be able to make these connections? And for most companies, just kind of in looking at these early findings, it's not strategic. It's just, we don't know how they're assigned, or we're just doing it at onboarding and that's it. So I think companies, especially this year, think about just what we've all gone through. We feel disconnected. We're working remotely. We haven't seen people. I feel a little bit more awkward than I've ever felt before, just being kind of inside for a year. And, we want to feel connected. And it's an organization's job to kind of help employees feel more connected in this environment. We're spending, 8 to however many hours a day in front of our computers working and in a very different environment. So I think if companies can really think about mentorship and helping individuals, whether that's onboarding and starting at onboarding, or whether that's just through any type of career transition, helping people feel more connected through this type of mentorship program, I think it's very beneficial. And, I think it goes a long way for building that loyalty and building those relationships.
And and it's relatively, it's been around for a long time,
Right.
but it's relatively new in regards to growth and development. So traditionally in growth and development, we've always thought of, okay, your LMS, we all can sit down in front of the computer and learn from that. Now, what has also come in this are the gigs.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to learn how to do this? Well, why don't you volunteer and do, the United Way project, and you'll learn how to do Excel at a higher level. Or it could be a coaching process. But now mentorship is so, especially with the higher level individuals, is being really well received. But what I've discovered just last week was the naivety that's going on out in the workplace about it. Like, what is the role of the mentor? What is the role of the mentee? And there really needs to be clarification. And do you want to speak to those two roles, just so people understand?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, I think that's the challenge, right? There isn't clarity around what those two roles are. We just have mentors and we have mentees who, are the ones being coached or being mentored through this process. And we don't really establish what the cadence is between them or what the responsibility and roles are. And that becomes, then it's not valuable. If that's not established and we don't understand what we're going to get from this and those expectations aren't being met, companies and individuals are not going to see the value in that. And I think, one thing that's interesting that we looked at in the research too, and I'm going to be curious what the data shows, is we looked at corporate social responsibility too, and volunteerism, and companies looking at activism and as a way to engage employees. How can companies think about this? And the mentorship component becomes a big part of that as well. So for companies that are making these investments in employee experience, to me, it's like that's almost the foundational layer, is like this mentorship approach and this culture of, we support each other, and we have a very clear strategic approach to how we do support each other. So I think it's interesting to me. I think for most companies, it's a big missed opportunity. I think we know the value, and especially after this year, but I think companies that think more strategically about it, there's technology solutions that certainly can support that. I know there's some great work you're doing at Fuel 50 as well, but it's an opportunity. And I think for companies that are really committed to their employees and to providing really meaningful experiences, this has to be part of that.
Well, absolutely, because it's a chance. We're working remote. It's a chance to engage with another employee. Like, oh my gosh, like that's worth its weight in gold right now.
And who isn't your manager? It's not necessarily your manager. We don't always feel comfortable going to our managers and saying what's real to us and what's scary and what's challenging. That's not always a comfortable relationship. So to be able to have somebody that we look up to at the organization who is not, our direct manager, I think is tremendously valuable.
Oh, exactly. We could talk about this all day, but we're going to have to wind up, and I can't let you go without asking our favorite question is, Madeline, you are excellent at what you do, and you so enjoy it, and you're good at it. We at Talent X honestly believe one needs to enjoy what they do every day for in their career. How do you keep yourself operating at such a high level of success?
Oh, well, thank you for those kind words. I feel very, very, very lucky because I have a job that I really love. And I try not to take that for granted, because I know how many people don't unfortunately get to experience that. And I have a job I truly love. Are there hard days? Are there, late nights working? Absolutely. But I really love my job, and I feel so fortunate to be in an industry that I love too. And I think what certainly has helped me in my career in finding this love of a job is having a really great support team. And that's competitors. Those are people that I compete with. Those are people that are my clients. Those are, vendors in the community. Those are HR leaders. And having that support system, and hopefully I can give back to people as well, is really made a huge difference. And again, especially this year, having people that you can text and reach out to when you're struggling with something or if something feels challenging is so valuable. And I, really feel so fortunate. And I hope I don't take it for granted at all, because I am just, in my opinion, the luckiest person.
Wow. And on that note, Madeline, you're just a wealth of knowledge. I wish you much success, and I hope to see you, and I know I will see you at HR Tech. Do you have a closing statement before we sign off?
No, just thank you so much, Rhonda. Thanks for having me on. I love everything that you're doing at Fuel 50, and I am thrilled to be on this podcast today. So I really appreciate you inviting me.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. This is Rhonda Taylor from Talent X saying, take care of yourself. Bye now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Talent X podcast.
For more talent experience and future of work conversations, visit talentxpodcast.com.
Follow us on Twitter at TalentX Podcast.
Or join the conversation with #TalentXPodcast on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter.
Talent X, the Talent Experience podcast, was brought to you by the fabulous Fuelies at Fuel 50.